But anyway, as the war really ground down and atom bombs were dropped and Japan was said ceasefire, then they sent 14, a general and staff, with his total staff of 14, to Manila to coordinate the occupation of Japan. And so they came and asked me to take care of the quartering of these folks.
So you went to Japan?
No, so I, in Manila, so they have a place to stay. So we went to the Rosario Apartments, which was on the waterfront, and got it set up. And then when they flew into Clark Field, and just outside of Manila, and then our staff cars picked them up and brought them out from the airplane and brought them to the Rosario Apartments. And it was kind of interesting because all the military men came in with their sidearms and their swords. And General Mashburn and I was watching, he on one side and I on the other. We were looking at each other. What's the matter with these guys? You know, they're armed to the teeth, you know, and they're coming for, the war's over and they're going to coordinate the occupation of Japan. And so anyway, I said, well, Colonel, let me get them situated first. And my guys got them all situated. The general got the top room and so forth. And then we had a little conference, and Colonel Mashburn and I said, Colonel Mashburn said, what do we do? And I said, well, let's go up and talk to the guy. So we went up and talked to the general and General Kawabe, and we knocked on the door, went in, and I said, we have something distressing that we want to talk about, you know. And the general says, what is it? I says, well, you're coming here, the war is over, you're surrendering, and you come with guns and swords. And that's offensive, you know. And the general says, oh, well, I'll have all my men turn the guns over to your custody right now. And that was arranged. And I said, well, what about the sword? And he says, well, that's uniform. That's part of the uniform. And I just stared at him, and for a long time, we just kind of, he was thinking and I was staring. And then he said, what if, would you be kind enough to let us wear our swords to the conference room, and then we'll leave the swords outside of the conference room so that we'll be in uniform, excepting inside the conference room. And so Colonel Mashburn and I, we kind of nodded at each other and said that was okay, and then it was agreeable to everybody. But that was a kind of an experience that it'll stick with me a long time, you know.
How do you think those Japanese officers looked at you?
I don't know. At that time, I didn't know. But there's a little sequel to what I just said. And when they went off to their first conference, I went over to, they called me over to headquarters, so I went to the headquarters, and they said, well, we're going to commission you, because I was still a sergeant. And so the medical officer came over and was taking my blood pressure, and he says, my blood pressure is way up, you know. So I had to lay on that bunk there for over an hour before my blood pressure would drop down enough so they could write on it, the blood pressure is okay, you know, to give them a commission. So then I got my bars and I went back, and soon after that they're coming back from their first conference, and the general's aide, who didn't look really Japanese, you know, but we got together. he noticed that I now was having bars, and he was a captain in the Japanese Army. See. So we got to talking, and I thought to myself, well, this guy understands English too well, you know. Well, he say Nisei, that was in Japan, going to school. He was drafted. But he has never been in active duty. He's always been an administrative type of duty. So we had a long talk, about an hour talk, sitting talking. And he was a general's aide that came over, you know. And then when I was in Tokyo, I ran into him. We sat and talked in a street corner for a long time, a couple hours.